this is the one he accuses me of not wanting any to talk about, but I actually realize now we have to talk about more than ever. Like, I've got a year and a half to pour into my son what I know about relationships. All right, Philip, what are you taking away from this one?
Well, when he's talking about it, he was definitely talking to the young man in this.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about the things that you can do whenever you're interested in your special lady, your special crush. I'm not gonna go over everything because there's some really good stuff, and so you need to buy the book
You need to buy the
if you want
book.
to see it. It's really powerful. But what I will say is that the best, like one of the things that he mentions in there in the book about relationships is communicating effectively.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know it's said everywhere on every single book and every single platform, anything that's just related to relationships, just anything that is related to that, talking about it, it's communication.
Mm.
But it's true. If you have bad communication, it's never going to work out.
Yeah.
That was one thing. And it's also finding out how y'all work with each other,
Mm-hmm.
and if you finding out if y'all are really going to be able to like match to make it all the way to the end.
Mm-hmm.
Because and finding out what they really are, what's behind the whole oh, how do I want to say what's behind the whole, I guess, mask, because people put on a persona whenever they're like trying to date somebody, they like somebody,
Mm-hmm.
they put on
Oh,
they
yes.
put on their best behavior. It's like they hide everything that's going wrong in their lives
Mm-hmm.
because they don't want to lose you. They want, but you gotta find out what's going on behind the scenes too,
Yeah.
and how y'all can work with each other, how y'all be able to handle whatever happens before you make all the commitments. You want to know everything that's happening.
Mm-hmm.
Not I don't not necessarily everything, because that's
Yeah.
probably a lot.
I think
But
I knew what you meant, though. I
but
mean, people do. When you go out to eat, a lot of times girls will pick whatever they think you want.
mhm.
Or, they'll go to football and all these things because it's what you want. And they never acknowledge. And guys do this too, but I think women do it more than men do.
It
That
irritates me
they
so
don't
much.
acknowledge that, you know what, I don't like football. I'm only coming because I know he wants to see me there. Well, that's okay when you're dating, but what happens 10 years down the line when you're tired of football?
Mhm.
And I like football. I don't dislike football, but I tell you what, I never thought I'd be in a situation where I was going to his football game Thursday, Mr. Man's band
Friday,
Thursday. This is last
Friday,
year. This is last
last year
year.
Friday.
And before you made varsity this year, going to his football game on Thursday, going to Mr. Mann's band performance on Friday, then going to little one's football on Saturday, and then of course watching the NFL after church on Sunday. Like, football was 4 days out of my life. And that's like more than half the week. Well, if I had pretended to like it, like so many women pretend to like this sport or that sport to get the man, well, if I had just pretended, I'd have been a real miserable mama.
Mhm.
Because my whole life over the fall revolves around my ministry, my family, but my family revolves around football during fall. So, that's you got to be real with who you are. But now, do I want to come right out the gate when I meet somebody new and tell them about all the bad things, tell them my dad was in jail when I graduated from college and all this and all that? No, of course not. But what
This
else did he
is
say about relationships?
well,
Because,
well.
well,
One of the big things is people like to rush into them too quickly. You just
whoa,
gotta know. You gotta know if you're. You gotta find out if you're ready. You gotta know if you're ready to start a relationship. Because there are
uh-huh.
a lot of people who just aren't ready for one, and I don't think you really truly. Well, no, you can't. Some people don't really know if they are truly ready for a relationship until they actually start to go into a relationship, and then it's like, oh well, maybe I'm not ready
Woo!
for this. But like,
Wait. Let me finish this. Let me finish this because I think you need to say that again. And I was realizing, I was realizing we were missing an opportunity because people are sending me messages that they want to know how they can pour into you. And so I'm adding this in here now. We're going to save that and I'm going to see if that'll scroll properly. It's not adding the spaces. I'm sorry about that. But people are asking me how they can support you. So if you want to support Philip in his college fund, and you can send me a monetary gift of any kind at Queen of Cashflow. That'll work on PayPal and that'll work on Cash App. I think it will also work on Venmo, but I just set that up. So please use PayPal or Cash App because I don't want to disturb my phone to find out. But you said something very telling about relationships. You said, go ahead and say it again.
Not all people are ready for a relationship. You need to know if you are truly ready to start a relationship. And people don't always know if they're ready until they get in one. And then it's like, well, I'm actually not ready for this. So I'm going to cut you off. And that's what happens with a lot of people. And then it's like, well, what was the point? They leave a lot of people brokenhearted, and it's just leads to other things down the line.
Brokenhearted, though. Let's talk about that brokenhearted. Why is that brokenhearted? If you get into a relationship with somebody and they're not ready for a relationship and they break it off, what does that feel like?
Yeah, well, it's painful. It's because like most of the time they don't know for a couple months. They don't know if they're truly ready or not, and they think they're ready. They think they're ready, but then after a couple months, they decide they're not ready, and then they cut off from you and start to just distance yourself from you, and that's just heartbreaking. It's not fun to have that happen.
No, it's not fun. I think what's more not fun is when somebody cuts off a relationship and you don't understand why. Even if it's a friendship, if somebody was your friend and y'all were buddies, like when being in the military and moving from base to base to base, if I leave this base and our friendship doesn't follow me to the next base, then I just assumed that was a temporary friendship. That was a friendship of convenience. We were all here at the same place together. We're all in Qatar together. We're all in Korea together. We're all wherever together. And we're friends while we're there because we don't have anybody else. And then we move on and we develop other friendships. But if we had like a kindred spirit kind of thing going on and I never hear from you, well, then that does hurt. But I do know when it comes to relationships, romantic relationships, there was somebody that I had fallen head over heels for. And they were somebody that my other girlfriends had fallen heads over heels for. So it was almost like an initiation into this singles group. If you were in this group as a woman, you were going to fall for this guy at some point, right? And I remember when I decided he was not the one. And we're going to get to this comment about the heartbreak real soon. And I see we have another comment about love language, but I hope that this will help somebody. I remember when I realized that he was not the one, and it's such a small thing, it's such a small thing, but his father had cut off the insurance on his life. So his father had a life insurance policy. His father stopped paying for that policy and cut it off so that his wife, my friend's mother, would not get insurance money if the father died. And the reasoning behind this was, well, the father did not want the wife to take his insurance money and live it up on the town like the other widows in their circle were doing with their husbands' insurance money and wealth that had been acquired in the marriage. And I suspect, but this friend didn't say, that what was also being observed by the dad is that some of these widows were taking their husband's wealth, their late husband's wealth, and spending it on other men. Now he never said all that, but I said to my friend, but your mother followed your father around his entire career and sacrificed all of her life to rear you and your sister. She deserves that money. Whatever she chooses to do with it, she deserves that money. That's a husband's way of saying, I love you and I appreciate everything you sacrificed for my career and to rear my children. And when he was like, no, I agree with my father. I wouldn't want my wife. I wouldn't want my wife taking the insurance money and living it up while I'm dead. And I was like, he's not the one. And my girlfriends were so shocked. They're like, how did you just turn that off real quick? It's not that I don't love that person. It's not that I don't still care about that person. It's not that person won't ever have a spot on my couch if they were ever in a hard time, them and their family, right? They've married and moved and had kids and things like that. It's not that I would never, within the confines of Mr. Man, it's not that I would never not help that person out. But when you make that kind of comment, you're not the one. And if you're not the one, I'm not going to sit around waiting for you, because I'm waiting for the one. And I just realized that all that I just said probably makes it even harder for my poor son to talk to me about when his heart gets broken. Sorry. I really thought I was being helpful, but I think I was being prideful.
Well, I mean, it does show me what to look for, what not to look for in a girl. So, anyway.
You don't want somebody who's going to pine around for you for 20 years and you're not the one for her.
Yeah.
And you don't want to pine around for 20. Look, y'all, can we just set the book aside for a second? Can we just set the book aside for a second? Let's just set it over here. We'll get it right back again. You don't want to pine away for somebody who's not right for you. They're right for somebody else. Somebody else is right for you. And there may be 10 women that are right for you. I don't believe in this whole, there's only one, right? I believe that any two people with similar backgrounds, and especially if they have the Holy Ghost, can make it work. But if you're not right for somebody, why force it? Because that's going to be work. 20 years from now, you'll be tired of that. Ask me how I know.
How do you know?
How do I know? I already had one failed marriage. All right. Let's take a look at some of these comments we have here. This one here, is the heartbreak more about how it's done? Okay, so this is a question for you. Is the heartbreak more about how it's done or how you communicate throughout the relationship?
Well, I don't know about that, because whenever we were communicating, it wasn't a bad communication. We were communicating wonderfully. We called all the time, texted throughout the day, but eventually
During school?
Well,
I'm teasing. It's
that was
okay.
one thing. It was I wasn't really on my phone too much during school, but yeah, it was. Well, we kind of like after a while, I guess she wasn't ready, or maybe I know she also had things that were going on, and with her parents and stuff like that, telling her that she needs to focus on other things.
So the hurt is this person didn't like you as much as you thought they did?
No, they liked me, but they told me, it was like, well, I'm gonna start distancing myself because my dad said I needed to start focusing on my job and all this stuff like that. And so he was like, yeah, I'm gonna start distancing myself, and then just like stopped talking.
Yeah.
After a while, and then there was a lot more stuff that happened after that. But I guess it's also the communication that happens.
Well, I'm sure all the mamas are watching this, so just be careful what you say. You can tell me in private later.
It's painful whenever like you are trying to keep the conversations going, but they're just like it's their goal to just completely ghost you and just stop the conversations from keeping going.
Yeah, that hurts. I was when I was at the Air Force Academy, I broke off the engagement with your father over something. I forget what. But I broke off our engagement. And during that time where we weren't engaged anymore, I went out with this guy. And he's kind of a lot like Dad now, like your stepdad. And I went out with this guy, and we had such a great click together, and we had so much fun. And, we were respectful of each other's boundaries and things. Just a good, solid American guy. But his parents did not foresee him settling down with somebody who looked like me and who had my family background. So they were troubled because of my appearance. And they were troubled because my father was incarcerated at the time. And in their perspective, and this is a false doctrine that many churches still teach, that if I was really chosen by God, that I wouldn't have been born into a family where my dad was incarcerated. Right. And that's a, I forget which doctrine that is, Calvinist, or there's some very common doctrine that stems from in the Christianity. And so he was like, well, my dad said I can have fun with you, but I can't date you or bring you home. And I was like, yeah, I'm not that kind of girl, you know. But that was a real hurt. It was like, wait a second, so you're gonna not go out with me because your parents don't like two things about me that I can't control. I can't control that my dad was incarcerated, and I can't control the color of my skin. And unfortunately for you, we live in the South. And so you might come across that, especially when you go off to college. Because I think people here know who we are. They know that I served in the military, and they know your dad, your stepdad. And so I think you might have a little bit of an easier time here than in another small Texas town. But we live in the South. And there's going to be people that you like, and socially or whatever, that they're going to have to distance from you.
Yeah.
I found that even as a single grown woman, my singles group when I was in Louisiana the first time, when I moved back to Louisiana the second time, I noticed that all the minorities fell out of the group. And I don't know, I didn't know at the time how that happened or what had happened, but it was almost a part of taking your place in society, is shedding those people whose appearances don't jive with the high society there. And so that was a real troubling thing for me. So I appreciate whoever asked that question. And they also talked about balancing how much time we spend in each other's love language. And I don't know if you have any thoughts on this. I have a ton of thoughts, but I've been talking too much as it is.
I don't really know if I have enough experience in the relationships of like relationship status, because of her, I don't really try to get into relationships that often. I don't really, because to me, I feel like anytime I'm gonna get into a relationship, she's just gonna be like no. So I would like try to just.
No, wait a second. I took you and paid for your very first date.
Yeah, that's true. But
and that wasn't cheap. Y'all both picked $30 a pop hibachi.
That's another thing. I don't like it whenever a girl is just like, oh, I like whatever you like. I mean, I want you to choose your own.
To her defense, I don't think she'd ever been out like that before.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. For that particular girl. Yeah.
I don't like it when all the time they're constantly trying to make me feel like the king. Like, I mean, obviously I like to feel respected, but like I don't want to feel like everything they do is to try to make me happy, because that just doesn't make me feel good. I want them to also feel happy too.
Like, and if they're always pretending,
if they're always trying to do things for me and pretend to like the things that I like, that's not, it's the relationship 20 years from now, 10 years from now, it's not going to be the same as it was in the moment.
Or even 10 days from now, because you don't know what makes them tick.
Right.
You don't know what they like.
Yeah.
The next guy comes along and gives them what they like. And all of a sudden you're like, well, if I'd have known that you liked purple flowers, I'd have given you purple flowers. But you kept telling me you like pink flowers because I like pink flowers. That was a kind of a lame example, but I think it works, right?
But it works.
Yeah, that's a really good book to read when you're getting ready to date, is His Needs, Her Needs. And it's a book about recovering from from affair. But to me, it lays a foundation of, hey, here's what you want to acknowledge in yourself and look for in a partner. So, all right, well, let's get back to Robert Cooper's book.
Can we just appreciate these shirts?
I know, I love these shirts. Mine's a little worn because I've worn it a million times because I love it.
I wish my mom would have shown me this shirt sooner. I would have worn that today. Oh, wow, okay.
Oh, wait. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
All right, we're good. I was just trying to showcase the shirt, the goats. Right.
Greatness over abuse and trauma. Okay,